Okay guys, this is a correction video about the science of persuasion. Please only watch this video if you have already watched video 1 on the science of persuasion and have already answered all the questions in your booklet. So it was a fairly long video and you had to identify 6 key notions. We're going to now correct them together. So the first one was reciprocity. So the quick definition of how it works is simply the obligation to give back when you receive. As an example, they give you party invitations. Of course, if you've been invited, you'll want to invite that person back at some stage. Favors. And they also explained the experiment about waiters and tips. So what were the results of this experiment? Well, it shows that giving a mint increases tips up to 23%. Actually, it was 2 mints and a personalized gift to reach 23%. So the conclusion here is you want to make sure you're the first to give and that what you give is unexpected and personalized. Okay, if you need, you can pause the video and correct your notes. Right, the second key notion was scarcity. Basically, it's the fact that people like rare and unique things. The example they give you was about the Concorde flight sales. And the results were quite surprising. The minute they announced they were going to cancel the flights, sales took off. But it's not enough to talk about the benefits of your offer or of your product. You really need to point to what's unique about it and what they stand to lose if they don't consider your offer. Okay, you can now pause the video if you need to complete your notes. Okay, here's a last example to illustrate the principle of scarcity. It's actually a French company. It's Vente Privée. Why? So let's see. First, you need to be a member if you want to buy anything on their website. So it's for a limited public. It's the illusion of a limitation because anyone can sign up, but it's still a limited public. Secondly, it's a limited amount of products. Thirdly, limited amount of time. Okay, they open a sale for, let's say, 5 days and then it's over. What they also do is they show you products that are no longer available, just to say, well, you missed your chance. You weren't quick enough on this one. Of course, as you know, they are very, very successful. Okay, the third principle was authority. Simply put, people follow the lead of experts. So they give you a series of examples, medical diplomas displayed on walls, uniforms, and they also show you the experiment that was done for realtors. The result here was 15 to 20% increase in their business, so very efficient. The conclusion here is that before you even try to convince someone, you need to make sure you prove you're an expert in this field. You can now pause the video and complete your notes if you need. If you want to go a bit further and learn more about the principle of authority, you could have a look at the Milgram experiment. I know most of you are familiar with it. If you're not, please go on the internet, have a quick look. It was fascinating work that was conducted right after the Second World War, and you'll understand why. Another experiment that's worth reading about is the Stanford experiment that you might also be familiar with. Okay, the fourth key notion was consistency. Basically, people like being consistent with things they have previously said or done. The example they give you is the billboard experiment. Now I wonder, when you watched the video, did you recognize that it was in fact the foot in the door technique? It's just they gave it a different name. If you remember the foot in the door technique, we had 2 steps. First one was to make a small request, which wasn't our real request, to create a sense of commitment. And then later on, make a much bigger request. Okay? We see this in the billboard experiment. The first step was to place a card in your window, something insignificant. Okay? That was the first commitment. And then they asked the same people to place a billboard in their garden. So that was the real request. Okay, if you need to, you can now pause the video and complete your notes. Okay, the fifth principle was the liking principle. And so apparently we like people who are A, similar to us, B, who pay us compliments, and C, people who collaborate with us towards a common goal. The example they give you is with the two groups of MBA students who had to negotiate. What the results show is that the group who got to know each other and identify similarities before negotiating reached 90% agreement. The other group, only 55%. So the conclusion here is that before you start negotiating, you should take some time to get to know each other, identify similarities, and pay genuine compliments. Okay? Genuine is véritable, meaning we're not asking you to be a hypocrite here. We're asking you to find a genuine compliment. Okay, you can pause the video and complete your notes if you need. Okay, the last notion that was presented was consensus. Basically, people look to the actions of others to determine their own. The example they give you is towel reuse in hotels. And they show you that thanks to the consensus technique, they were able to increase their results by 26%. The conclusion to draw here is that before you want to convince someone, you can simply point to what other people are already doing. And as you saw in the experiment, the more people are similar to you, the more you will look to their actions to determine your own. Okay, if you need, you can go back and watch this video again to complete your notes. If you still have some questions, please go on our forum and ask them. Right, we've finished the first part of this lesson that dealt with social psychology. You are now going to move on to a series of videos to work on your language.